pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to RPtv. Today is Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. For all you drivers out there, if you've noticed a greater police presence on the roads, it's because of the annual program of reminding drivers to wear their seatbelts. Callie has that report.
Police across New Jersey are starting their annual safety crackdown on drivers and passengers in vehicles who refuse to wear a seatbelt. The 2-week Click It or Ticket campaign started this past Monday and will run through June 5th. State officials said 2021 was the deadliest year on New Jersey highways since 2007, and fatal crashes are on pace to be even higher this year. About 38% of the at least 702 people killed in crashes in New Jersey were not wearing a seatbelt, the state office of the Attorney General said. Wearing a seatbelt is the single most effective way to prevent death and serious injury in a car crash, Acting Attorney General Matthew Platkin said in a statement. Educating the public on the importance of buckling up is critical to our ongoing efforts to reverse the alarming uptick in fatal crashes and prevent the senseless loss of lives on New Jersey roadways. Data compiled by state police said there were 672 fatal crashes last year, a 20% climb over 2020, when fewer people were on the roads in the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. Last year, police departments in New Jersey that took part in the Click It or Ticket program handed out 9,700 seatbelt citations, wrote 3,900 speeding tickets, and made 555 impaired driving arrests, officials said. There will be a particular focus on nighttime enforcement, the Attorney General's office said. The maximum fine for a seatbelt violation is $46. Nationally, 42,900 people died in motor vehicle crashes in 2021, the most since 2005, and at an average of 117 deaths per day. The 145 law enforcement agencies of New Jersey received $892,930 in grant money to help pay for the 2-week seatbelt crackdown.
Now it's time for announcements. Attention students, CNN 10 is looking for original artwork featuring number 10 to use in their new show opening. They're particularly interested in creative 10s that illustrate something cool about the place where you live. If you'd like to contribute, just contact Mrs. Scrutro in room 102 for information and details. Seniors, graduation will be here before you know it. Make sure you complete the project graduation survey and order PTSA lawn sign. Spanish Club, next meeting is on Thursday, May 26th after school in room 5. Calling all graphic designers. The Roosevelt Park Veterans Memorial Library is holding a contest to create a new library logo. Check with Mrs. Lemke for all important information. Fall Sports Physical. The deadline is June 3rd. If you are interested in having a physical done by the school district, physicals will be done on June 9th and June 14th. Check with the nurse or the athletic office. Girls Volleyball and Tennis meeting Wednesday, May 25th, 2022 at 2:45 p.m. in the students' cafeteria. Today at 6:30 there will be a concert at the auditorium. All are welcome to join to hear the choir and various bands as well as dancing. Massachusetts about a week ago. Dozens of people came to the rescue of some dolphins stranded on a beach. Let's go back to Cali for that story.
The International Fund for Animal Welfare first got the word that the Atlantic white-sided dolphins got stranded in a shallow gut of the Herring River in Wellfleet around 7 a.m. Wednesday, and rescuers were on the scene by about 8 a.m. The organization said in a statement, "It's not unusual for dolphins to get stranded in the area because of its shape as a hook within the larger hook of Cape Cod's shoreline, and because of the large tidal fluctuations in Cape Cod Bay. The dolphins appeared alert and in good health, but the day was sure to be sunny and warm, and we needed to move quickly," said Misty of the rescue team. "The tide was also coming in, and dolphins often risk getting stranded when it rolls out," she said. "The largest and final released dolphin did appear a bit stressed, and we fitted that dolphin with a temporary satellite tag to monitor its success," Namir said. "We released the dolphins in 3 rounds, and eventually all swam off into deeper water. We are optimistic about their journey ahead."
And now for a special video presentation.
Hi, here's a PSA on how to be relatively happy. Now, happy and joy is a relatively subjective term, but there are a lot of things that will objectively make you feel better. Number 1, maintaining a healthy diet. Now, I get it. I'd rather eat nothing but Pop-Tarts and Wendy's. However, that makes my body feel bad because I'm not getting enough fuel for my body. Eating stuff like fruits and vegetables and, getting enough protein gives you the fuel that your body needs. It's a reason why, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, because that's going to affect your entire mood of what you eat in the morning. Probably get some good stuff like eggs, bacon, or if you're vegan, oatmeal with almond milk. 2, getting enough exercise. Now, I know this seems very obvious, but there's actually a science to it. See, when you exercise, your body releases these happy chemicals called endorphins. And that's why you feel so good, probably after a workout. I know you might feel exhausted afterwards, but in the long run, it's going to be relatively good. Lastly, sleep. You need a lot of sleep. I know, teenagers are very sleep deprived. It's really important that you get a healthy sleep schedule. It's really important, trust me. It'll make you feel a lot more better in the long run. Well, I hope you use these tips well, and I hope you actually feel better with, whatever personal issues you may be going through. Bye-bye!
Thanks for watching, have a great day, and stay tuned for CNN 10.
For CNN 10. We had some tragic news coming out of the U.S. state of Texas as we produced today's show. There was a shooting Tuesday in the city of Uvalde. It happened at an elementary school. Officials say at least 18 students and 2 adults were killed, and that the suspected shooter is also dead. Several others were treated at a local hospital. We didn't know how many when we produced this show. Texas Governor Greg Abbott called on people to show unwavering support for those who were suffering, and U.S. President Joe Biden was scheduled to address the nation last night. CNN.com will have updated information on all of this. Next, we're taking you to 2 island countries on opposite sides of the Northern Hemisphere. Tens of thousands of Cubans are leaving their nation. It's currently dealing with runaway inflation, prices around 70% higher at the end of last year than they were the year before, and the communist country is seeing its worst shortages of food and medicine in decades. The COVID pandemic hurt Cuba's tourism industry. The country's getting less oil from its ally Venezuela, which is having trouble producing enough oil for itself. And for years, the U.S. has imposed sanctions, economic penalties on Cuba to pressure its government to make changes. As Cubans protested last year over shortages, power outages, and a lack of freedoms, their government blamed the United States for trying to overturn Cuba's communist rule. But critics of Cuba's leaders say they try to take advantage of their country's economic problems and exodus of migrants to pressure the U.S. government. American officials say the number of Cubans trying to enter the U.S. is increasing exponentially. Meanwhile, the island nation of Sri Lanka is also dealing with shortages of fuel and food. The inflation rate in this presidential republic is more than 33% higher than it was last year at this time.
If you drive through Sri Lanka's capital, Colombo, you'll spot hundreds of people standing in multiple queues, hoping to take home fuel and gas from collection points. For months, there's been an acute shortage of essential commodities. In a new law for the country, Sri Lanka defaulted on its debts Thursday. We speak to people in Colombo about the impact the country's worst economic crisis has had on their lives. 36-year-old Thuvan, an auto rickshaw driver, has spent 2 nights at this gas station in central Colombo. It's been an endless wait to refuel his 3-wheeler. Petrol pumps are all but dry across the city. About 5 kilometers or 3 miles away from Thuvan's home, Sagarika Samanthi can barely sit in this 30-inch wide balcony where she cooks the day's meals. She uses coconut husk, paper and kerosene to get the firewood stove started.
Since the 30th of April, there's been no cooking gas. We're now using a firewood stove.
Earlier, Sagarika would cook 3 meals a day on a gas stove. It's now down to 1. Weeks of protests forced all the Rajapaksas except the president to step down from senior government posts. On Monday, Sri Lanka's new Prime Minister Wickramasinghe warned that things will only get worse before getting any better. 4 days later, and for the first time in its history, the country defaulted on its debt.
10-second trivia. What U.S. state traditionally holds the first primary or caucus in a presidential election year? New Hampshire, Iowa, Washington, or Virginia? Every 4 years, Iowa usually holds the first caucus in the nation. Though this isn't a presidential election year in America, primaries have still been going on, starting on the first Tuesday of this month, and what they do is determine which candidates appear on the ballots this November. It's a midterm election year. Americans will be choosing all 435 voting members of the U.S. House of Representatives. They'll be deciding on 34 seats in the 100-member Senate. They'll be picking governors in 36 states, and a slew of politicians for state and local races will also be on the ballots in the midterm elections. In the primaries, voters can whittle down a list of candidates who are running. For example, if several Republicans or several Democrats are all trying to win the same seat, a primary in the spring can decide which one candidate from each party gets on the ballot in the fall. There's a lot at stake in the midterms. Control of Congress is one of the biggest headlines, so the election season that's in full swing now will decide the House and Senate makeup until at least the next election in 2 years. Next, we're going to the Himalayas. Himlung Himal is a mountain in Nepal. It's more than 23,000 feet above sea level. That makes it thousands of feet higher than Mount Kilimanjaro or Mount Rainier. And a record was recently achieved on Himlung Himal by a climber with a spinal cord injury, even though his team didn't reach its summit.
It rendered me completely paralysed from the shoulders down, and I had no movement or sensation returned for quite a long time, for well over a week, and I was told that I was never going to walk again. But I got very lucky, and there was enough of my spinal cord still attached that I started to make a recovery. And at the 12-month mark, I wanted to set myself a challenge. I knew that if I put a goal in place, then hopefully I'd be able to keep motivated to do my rehab. I said I wanted to climb Snowdon. I was still using 2 crutches and still very much disabled. That it posed a big enough challenge, and I opened it up to anyone who wanted to come and join in, expecting just a few people to turn up, but there were 70 people on the start line who I didn't even know, who'd come for their own different reasons. I kind of got hooked on mountains after that. I was just looking for the next highest one, and yeah, 4 years later I find myself in the Himalayas. We had to get to over 6,500 meters. And we spent 2 weeks actually on the mountain itself, in the most sort of remote places you could imagine. No electricity. Like one day we had leftovers of a yak that had been killed by a snow leopard. We got to about 6,800 meters, which was obviously a new record, but we had to turn around to come back. And by the time we got back down, the snow conditions had changed. Our guide fell through a crevasse, but then we called for a helicopter rescue, and the helicopters can't fly at night in Nepal because they can't fly above the height of the mountain. So we called them at 6 p.m. and they said, sorry, you're gonna have to wait till morning. So we basically had to dig in and survive a night on the mountain at anywhere between minus 20 and minus 30 degrees without tents, without having eaten or drunk for nearly 24 hours. It's one of those things that you wouldn't choose to repeat, but don't regret. Just being outside in nature, I think, is incredibly rewarding, incredibly healing. I've found that it's helped me recover mentally and deal with the change that I've gone through. I was resuscitated 3 times. I died 3 times in the ambulance after my accident, and I think realizing how short life can be is obviously going to give you a big perspective shift. It makes you think about what's important in your life, and I also realized that I was very lucky to have the support network I had. So I wanted to recreate that for other people, people who'd been through trauma. We take people on challenges all over the world. So this year we're going to Morocco, Iceland, Nepal, and then we put in a 3-year development program which funds life coaching, retraining, therapy. I hope through what I'm doing and what we're doing with the charity and what our beneficiaries are proving can give anyone the hope that they can turn their life around, no matter how bleak it might seem in that moment.
Ding dong, it's delivery with a lesson about kids and smartphones. A mom in Texas thought her phone was locked, that if her 2-year-old son was doing anything on it, he'd be taking pictures. Wrong. He was placing an order for cheeseburgers, 31 of them. And with the $16 tip he added, the total came to more than $91. The little guy ate half a burger, leaving mom with an expensive but good story and 30 and a half cheeseburgers to give away. Let us look at this medium rare event pragmatically. When you catch up with the boy, you can't have beef with the plan the onion one cooked up. Oh yes, he might have mustered an order that cost a lot of bread, leaving his mom in a pickle. But once everything was said and well done, it was all but intentional. Today's shout out takes us to Naples, Maine. It is great to see the students and teachers of Lake Region Middle School watching today. I'm Carl Azus.